When CNBC publishes a headline that says your market might be broken, and Goldman Sachs can't explain why prices keep smashing records they never predicted, you're not watching a normal bull market anymore. You're watching a system fail in real time. And as of this morning, January 29th, silver is trading at $118.92 per ounce, proving every single thing the establishment said was impossible is now happening right in front of their faces. This isn't speculation. This isn't hype. This is CNBC, the network that spent years telling you precious metals were a relic, admitting on their own website that the silver market may be broken. Those are my words. Those are theirs. And when the people who built the system tell you the system doesn't work anymore, you better pay attention, because what comes next is going to separate people who protect their wealth from people who watch it evaporates. Before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to show you is information you will not get anywhere else. Not from your financial advisor, not from your bank, and certainly not from the mainstream media until it's way too late. And drop a comment below. Tell me what state you're watching from and what time it is where you are, because I want to know how many people across this country are waking up to what's really happening in the silver market right now. Let me be crystal clear about what we're dealing with. For years, decades actually, the silver market is operated on a fractional reserve system, where paper contracts traded freely and everyone pretended those contracts represented actual metal. Analysts estimate that the current paper-to-physical ratio sits at 378 to 1. That means for every single ounce of real silver sitting in a registered vault, there are 378 paper claims against it. Think about that. If you walked into a bank and they told you that for every dollar you deposited, they'd given out 378 IOUs to other people, you'd call that fraud. But when it happens in the silver market, they called it liquidity. They called it normal market function. They called it sophisticated financial engineering, until now. Because as of January 29th, CNBC is publishing articles questioning whether the whole thing still works. Goldman Sachs, the bank that's supposed to have all the answers, is raising their gold forecast to $5,400 and talking about extreme price sensitivity in silver due to tight inventories. And silver just hit $120 in intraday trading, a price that every mainstream analyst said was impossible without some kind of systemic crisis. Well, guess what? The crisis is here. It's not coming. It's here. And the $120 silver price is the proof. Let me take you back to a moment in history that explains exactly what's happening right now. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon went on television and announced that the United States would no longer convert dollars to gold. It's called the Nixon Shock, and it's the moment the world went to a pure fiat currency system. Before that announcement, the dollar was backed by gold at $35 per ounce. After that announcement, the dollar was backed by nothing, except government promises and the threat of force. And what happened next should terrify anyone holding paper assets today. Gold, which had been fixed at $35 per ounce, shot up to $120 by 1973. By January, the link between paper promises and real assets had been severed. When people realized their currency wasn't backed by anything tangible anymore, they ran to things that couldn't be printed. They ran to metal. And here's why that matters today. What we're watching in 2026 is the second phase of what Nixon started in 1971. Back then, the government broke the link between paper dollars and physical gold. Today, the silver market is breaking the link between paper contracts and physical silver. The difference is that this time, the government isn't making an announcement. The market itself is forcing the break. And when markets force a reality that institutions don't want to admit, that's when things get violent. Goldman Sachs sees extreme price sensitivity in silver. Do you know what that means in plain English? It means they don't have enough physical metal to meet demand. So small changes in buying or selling create massive price swings. That's not how a functioning market behaves. That's how a broken market behaves. That's how a market on the edge of failure behaves. And it's not just Goldman Sachs sounding the alarm. Let's talk about what happened on January 14th. The United States Mint, the government institution responsible for producing silver coins, suspended all sales of numismatic silver products. They didn't suspend sales because they wanted to. They suspended sales because they couldn't keep up with demand at current prices and couldn't reprice fast enough to match where the spot market was going. Think about that. The US government's official mint couldn't figure out how to price silver because the metal was moving too fast for their systems to handle. When a government institution that's been operating for over 200 years suddenly can't perform its basic function, that's not a hiccup. That's a breakdown. And that breakdown is happening while silver is hitting all-time highs and CNBC is publishing articles questioning whether the market even works anymore. But let me give you the most shocking piece of evidence that this isn't just price speculation. In January 2026, over 40 million ounces of silver were requested for physical delivery on the Comex. Now, if you don't follow commodity markets, let me explain why that number is insane. January is not a delivery month. That means contracts expiring in January are not supposed to be about taking physical delivery. They're supposed to roll over to the next month or settle in cash. But instead, holders of 40 million ounces worth of contracts said, no, we want the metal, not the cash. When people start demanding physical delivery in a non-delivery month, that's a market screaming that paper promises aren't trusted anymore. That's a market where participants would rather have this actual metal than the cash equivalent, even if it means paying storage fees and dealing with logistics. And when you combine that delivery demand with a registered inventory that's been draining for months and a paper-to-physical ratio of 378 to 1, you get the setup for a catastrophic failure of the paper market. This is exactly what happened in 1971, just in slow motion. Nixon didn't want to close the gold window. He was forced to, because foreign governments were demanding physical gold, and the US didn't have enough to meet those demands at the $35 price. So rather than admit the system was insolvent, Nixon changed the rules. He broke the peg. He turned the dollar into a pure paper currency. Today, the silver market is facing the same choice. Either the Comex and the LBMA admit they don't have enough physical silver to back all the paper contracts they've issued, or they change the rules. And changing the rules could mean cash settlements instead of physical delivery. It could mean position limits that prevent anyone from taking too much metal. It could mean suspending trading entirely during periods of extreme volatility. Whatever form it takes, the end result is the same. The paper market either delivers the metal, or it admits it never had the metal to begin with, and guess which one is more likely? If you've been paying attention to how financial systems work during a crisis, you know the answer. They protect the system, not the participants. They protect the paper, not the people holding it. Elon Musk, one of the most prominent industrialists in the world, tweeted on December 30th that rising silver prices are not good because silver is needed in many industrial processes. Now, Musk isn't a precious metals investor. He's a manufacturer. He needs silver for Tesla's electric vehicles, for solar panels, for batteries. When a guy like Elon Musk is publicly worried about silver prices, that tells you industrial demand is real, it's growing, and is putting pressure on supply that the market cannot handle. Here's the thing about industrial demand. It's not speculative. Solar panel manufacturers can't just decide to stop using silver because the price went up. Electric vehicle producers can't swap out silver for a cheaper alternative in most applications. Electronics companies can't redesign decades of technology overnight. Industrial demand is sticky. It's structural. It's permanent. And when you layer permanent industrial demand on top of investment demand fleeing a currency crisis,